Welcome back to our attendees. Our next speaker, Mr. Omar Riad, Senior Systems Engineer, Pre-Sales at Dell Technologies, speaking on today's topic, the role of hybrid cloud computing for the FreeZone sector. Over to you, Mr. Omar.
Thanks, Melvin. And thank you so much for giving Dell Technologies this opportunity to present the strategy and the role of the public cloud or the hybrid cloud when it comes to the FreeZone sector. My name is Omar Riad, and I'm part of the pre-sales team in Dell Technologies. And today I'm going to speak to you about the role of the hybrid cloud, as well as the vision that Dell Technologies has in this space. I want to start with some marketing or some analysis done about public cloud, where the market analysis says that the IT expenditure over the coming 2 to 3 years are not going to be really directed towards a specific platform, whether this platform is a public cloud or a private cloud, or even traditional IT. It's going to be a mixture of the three of them. What you see on the slide here on the top right is a pie chart, and this pie chart explains how the expenditure is going to look like in the coming years when it comes to traditional IT and the private cloud, as well as the public cloud. And the reason the expenditure is split across these three pillars is maybe because there are some legacy applications that are not ready yet to move to the public cloud. This is really the result that we get on this pie chart. We get expenditure happening in three different areas. The majority, obviously 47%, is happening on the traditional IT applications. 17% are happening in the private cloud space, and then there is still the 36% that is happening on the public cloud offerings. Now, if we take a little closer look at those 36%, we will even find that if we break those 36% down, the expenditure is not happening in one area of the public cloud, right? It's happening in three different areas. It's happening in the IT as the infrastructure as a service, the platform as a service, and the software as a service. And obviously, the software as a service is the bigger portion. It's more than half of the expenditure that is coming from those 36% that you've seen in the previous slide are really focusing around the public cloud services, something like M365 services, something like cloud-based CRM solutions. These are the types of applications that are getting this big share of the 36%. Essentially, more than 50% of the expenditure is happening on the software as a service offerings, right? Which are essentially not mission-critical applications, right? Now, the other half of the expenditure is happening on the infrastructure as a service and the platform as a service, and this is only telling us that infrastructure as a service is not going away, platform as a service is not going away. The three types of platforms are going to remain there, as well as obviously the on-premise kind of applications. Now, this is just going to only lead to what we call a multi-cloud strategy or a multi-cloud organization at Dell Technologies, right? Dell Technologies really defined the multi-cloud organization as an organization that actually consumes a lot of services from different public cloud offerings, right? While keeping in mind that there are still some applications that still need to run on-premise because they are either legacy applications or require some specific, security or performance requirements, which are only available on-premise. And this is why this survey really says that 93% of the respondents of this survey have indicated that their organization is potentially going to be using multi-cloud offerings or different public cloud offerings for their organization. And it's really about the change of the role of the IT department in those organizations and how they are going to actually manage the different workloads not running on different public cloud providers, but also advice on which workload should be provisioned on which public cloud offering, right? It's just these are the top two things that the IT teams of tomorrow are going to be focusing on when they adopt a multi-cloud strategy. And it's only going to lead to those organizations to have what we believe is the edge computing or edge locations. So you will have in your edge locations, you will have your cloud. You will have your cloud in the main data center, and you will also have to deal with the public cloud offerings that the organization is actually leveraging, right? Whether this is going to be Azure or Google or Microsoft or any other any other public cloud offering. The IT team in this organization is going to basically be responsible for handling everything. Now, what we've learned from the previous years is that we as Dell Technologies, it's not the way forward. It's not just to compete with the public cloud offerings, and they learned the same. The public cloud offerings also learned the same, that it's not the way forward or the best approach to compete with on-premise kind of vendors like Dell Technologies. And this is down to the very reason that there are still legacy applications that are there. There are still a lot of investments that happened actually on-premise, and still a lot of organizations want to leverage this. So we learned as Dell Technologies a lot of things from the public cloud offerings, and they also learned from the on-premise vendors like Dell Technologies a lot of things. And the vision that Dell Technologies has is basically to combine the best of both worlds, the best of having everything running on-prem, but at the same time leveraging the advantages that you get when you consume the public cloud offerings. Now, when it comes to hybrid cloud with Dell Technologies, we've thought of an approach that is going to really combine all of these goods and all of the advantages of public cloud offering and on-premise into this platform. And this platform is just essentially going to bring you the three different pillars that you see in the slide. You will get, as an organization, the freedom of choice of having your workloads running on a specific public cloud offering or even on-prem. But it will also give you the choice of not only selecting the public cloud offering or the landing zone, as we call it, of a specific workload. It will also give you this freedom of choosing which workload is going to be provisioned. The second pillar is really about the consistent experience across the different public cloud offerings, as well as the on-premise or edge locations that you might potentially have. And then the third pillar is the optimized infrastructure that is going to be running on the on-premise cloud that is going to be handling the mission critical workloads and the security related matters of things. The first focus is really on the freedom of choice. And here, what Dell Technologies has to offer is something that we call Apex. And Apex is basically, bringing all of the good stuff about, again, the public cloud, as well as the on-premise. See, the reason organizations started adopting the public cloud is really down to the very reason of, getting rid of all of the operations that you used to have, basically offloading all of the operations and offloading all of the cost and all of the planning to a public cloud offering that will allow those organizations to only focus on their business, right? And this is what Apex exactly does. We bring the on-premise or we bring the public cloud offerings advantages, whether they are managed services or maybe pay as you grow or pay as you consume. We bring all of these good things and good features to the on-premise world, right? With Apex, this is what we're able to do. It really provides the simplicity of the public cloud, the flexibility, and gives you this consistent platform that will allow you to manage your workloads across different public cloud providers or even on-premise or edge locations. The second pillar is about the consistent experience, and this is a very, very key pillar for the platform, right? There is a dilemma, right? There is a dilemma when it comes to a lot of organizations adopting public cloud offerings. The first dilemma is what workload is going to be placed on the public cloud. The second dilemma is really about, okay, I now identified the workload that needs to go on the public cloud, but which public cloud offering should I actually use? Should it be AWS or should it be GCP or should it be Azure or maybe Alibaba? It really depends, right? So this is the second dilemma. So The third one becomes managing all of this together. You will find some workloads are a good potential for Azure. You will find other workloads are a good potential for AWS. And then another set of workloads are a good potential for GCP. But then at the very end, you are left with managing all of those workloads on different public cloud offerings together, right? Bearing in mind that you still have your legacy applications and your mission critical applications running on-premise or in the edge locations. So what we do with Dell Technologies consulting team is that we are able to help a lot of the organizations do or overcome those dilemmas, right? With our consulting team, we are able to do an assessment to take a holistic view and a detailed view about the entire application landscape of a given organization. And then we come up with some decisions. And these decisions are going to really identify if these workloads are a good potential to move to a public cloud, or should they remain on-premise, or maybe move them to the edge. It really depends. This is essentially what the Dell Technologies consulting team is able to do. They are able to identify which workload can land in which area. They will also advise on this landing zone, whether it's a public cloud or a private cloud, or even an edge location. And if it's a public cloud, then which approach is going, or which platform is going to be suitable for this specific workload, whether AWS or Azure or GCP. It really depends, right? There are obviously going to be some applications that need to retire because there are similar ones or similar services that are running on public cloud, such as Exchange, for instance. If your organization is looking into the possibility of leveraging M365, then it doesn't really make sense to have Exchange. And this is just a simple example on the applications that will retire on premise, right? There are also applications that would be retained on-premise, and this is obviously because of some security reasons or maybe performance requirements or networking requirements. It really depends. So this is a service that is being offered by the Dell Technologies consulting team that really, targets overcoming those dilemmas that you've seen in the previous slide. Now let's take a look at today's multi-cloud strategy or multi-cloud world. What does a multi-cloud world look like? It really looks like this. It really looks like your central location in the middle, and then you have your public cloud offerings running. Obviously, all of them are running in silos, right? You have your SAP workloads running on the SAP cloud. You have your Amazon services running on AWS. You have your Microsoft services running on Azure. And the same for all of the other public cloud offerings, right? So you end up with those silos that you need to manage as an organization, as well as managing your own on-premise kind of workloads that are, central in this slide, right? What does this leave you with? It really leaves you with the third dilemma, which is the cloud management dilemma. You end up with different silos that you need to manage separately, and you need to life cycle separately. It leaves you with complex workloads to migrate from one public cloud to another, or maybe drag some workloads from the public cloud that you want to drag them back to your on-premise data center for any reason. It leads also to your IT organization adopting new skills. You need to leverage, you need to make sure that you have the right team handling the right workloads. And obviously, the more public cloud offerings you adopt, the more skills and the more people that you need, right? And then the fourth issue is really about the security, right? It's really about how are these workloads going to be secured on the public cloud, right? Which really brings me back to this slide. And this slide is really about the repatriation. This is a term that we always mention. And it basically means that those organizations are repatriating from the public cloud because of various reasons. This was conducted by some of the analysts, and 85% of the respondents of this survey have indicated that they have actually repatriated from public cloud offerings. And the top reasons are maybe because of security. Some other reasons are because of performance, availability, or cost, or control, or centrally managing everything together. They were not able to do this because they are leveraging different public cloud offerings. So these are the top reasons or the top drivers why organizations are actually repatriating from the public cloud. So as Dell Technologies, what we did is that we came up with a common platform that is going to run across all of the public cloud offerings as well as your on-premise workloads. This common platform is basically going to distribute the workloads according to their landing zones. It will also distribute the workloads according to cost. It will really identify which workload is best for which platform. This is what the common platform is going to do, right? So now you have a workload that you want to provision on AWS. You have another workload that maybe this same workload is going to be cheaper if you move it to Microsoft Azure. So you might want to drag it from AWS to Microsoft Azure. And you have another workload that you might want to run on the Oracle Cloud. But then this workload needs to be dragged back into the on-premise data center for whatever reason, right? And then you have your other workloads running on SAP and similarly running on GCP, and you eventually would want to move them from one public cloud offering to another, maybe because of this other public cloud offering is offering a lesser price. Maybe it's because it's offering a better service, a feature that is not available in this public cloud offering, and it's going to be available in another. So there are really many reasons why you would want to move your workloads from one public cloud offering to another. And this is basically what this common platform is going to allow you to do, right? It really is about bridging all of the public cloud offerings together and making sure that you as an organization will be able to move your workloads freely from one public cloud offering to another, depending on those drivers I mentioned earlier. And it's basically going to lead the organizations to adopting what we call a multi-cloud strategy. They will be eventually using a lot of services from different public cloud providers. They will still have their legacy applications and their mission critical applications running on the core, and they will still have the edge computing around, with the emergence of the technologies such as 5G, for instance. Edge computing is going to be something that is essential for all organizations, and this is going to be only enabled when you have the right compute and the right network and the right performance in the edge locations. All of these together form what we call a multi-cloud organization or a multi-cloud strategy. This is really, in a nutshell, what multi-cloud is exactly and what Dell Technologies is doing in this space. Now, the third pillar is really about focusing really on those on-premise workloads that are going to be running, those mission-critical applications or these legacy applications that will be running on the core data center. And it's really about the optimized infrastructure, right? And this is where Dell Technologies can really help. What we do is that we really do optimize or help organizations optimize their expenditure on the legacy applications, which is the blue curve that you see on the slide. And then with those savings, they will be able to reinvest those savings into what we call the cloud native applications. By optimizing whatever you have from a legacy perspective or from a traditional IT perspective, and making sure that you're paying just the right amount for exactly what you need, the savings that you actually save as an organization can be reinvested in the cloud native applications, in the containerized workloads, in the public cloud offerings, bridging those gaps between the public cloud offerings. All of this can only be achieved if you have an optimized kind of setup in the on-premise infrastructure and you have a modern infrastructure, and then have the ability to re-spend or reinvest these savings into what we call the cloud native applications and the emerging technologies and all of these services that I was mentioning here. The way we do this is by doing a lot of activities when it comes to optimization on the on-premise workloads. We might be speaking about maybe replatforming some of the workloads to x86. We might be speaking about the possibility of having all-flash storage and leveraging the capabilities of all-flash, whether they are deduplication or compression or even performance enhancements. These are all things that we actually focus on as Dell Technologies to be able to optimize whatever any organization has on-premise. The second part is really about the server consolidation. It's really about adopting a virtualized platform. And this virtualized platform is key because this is basically the common platform that you will be running on-premise, as well as running also on the public cloud offering. It needs to be a common platform. It needs to be something that will pave the way for the cloud, but at the same time, give you the flexibility to move your workloads from one public cloud offering to another. And then one other area of enhancement or optimization that we work on is really about moving organizations to a tapeless strategy. Maybe getting rid of physical tape. It's not really a mandatory requirement or a mandate to have physical tapes. This has been the case for the past years, but moving forward, tapes are not a reliable strategy anymore. And this is why we help a lot of the organizations adopt a tapeless strategy and also integrate, their workloads that require long-term retention with the public cloud, and perhaps leveraging this. Doesn't necessarily have to be sitting on premise, but if a specific organization wants to leverage the public cloud offering for long-term retention data, then this is something that we can certainly work on with you as Dell Technologies. And this is just really the last slide of the presentation. And the intention is not really to show you what products we have in our portfolio. It's rather about showing you the value that we have. We have a very broad portfolio when it comes to cloud. And usually what we promote is what we call the converged and hyper-converged and the ready-made or ready stacks in our portfolio. This is just a small portion of the portfolio. And these are basically, the offerings that we usually promote when it comes to an organization looking into the possibility of having a multi-cloud strategy or adopting a public cloud offering. This was my last slide, and now I'm more than happy to answer any questions that the audience might have.
Perfect. Thank you, Omar. And if there are any questions, attendees, please do write into us and we will share it with Mr. Omar. And Mr. Omar, I hope you'll reply back to them.
For sure. Thank you so much.
You have a fantastic day ahead, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye.